Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Jaya Gopidana Vallabha Girivara Dhari Jaya Gopidana Vallabha Girivara Dhari Yashodanandana Brajadana Randana Yashodanandana Brajadana Randana Jamuna Tira Vanasari Jamuna Tira Vanasari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Jaya Gopidana Vallabha Girivara Dhari Jaya Gopidana Vallabha Girivara Dhari Yashodanandana Brajadana Randana Yashodanandana Brajadana Randana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Jaya Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Radhe Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Jaya Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Radhe Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Gaur Pimanandi Jayam Vishupad Paramahamsa Parivrajagacharya Stotra Satya Sri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhai Charan Arvind Bhaktivedanta Swami Sri Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki ISKCON BBT Founder Charya's Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada Ki Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Harinam Sankirtan Ki Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Dainitai Gaur Pimanande All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Sri Guru and to Sri Gauranga, all glories to Sri Prabhupada Ki. Om Agyanatimirandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Taksurunmilitam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Juta Padakamalam Sri Gurun Vaisnavam Sya Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatan Vitam Tvam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Sri Visakan Vitam Scha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gourangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sutidevi Pranamami Hari Priye Vansakalpa Trubhyasya Kripa Sindhu Vyaivacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narotamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudhirayet. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, let us first offer respectful obeisances unto Narayana, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, unto Nara, Narayana Rishi, the Supremost Human Being, unto Mother Saraswati, the Goddess of Learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta prayesha badreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Tamashloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. By regularly hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam and by rendering a service unto the pure devotee, all that is troublesome within the heart becomes destroyed or practically to nil, and the loving devotional service unto the Supreme Lord, whose praise with transcendental songs becomes established as an irrevocable fact. Idam Bhagavatam Nama Puranam Brahmasamitam Uttama Charitam Shakara Bhagavan Rishi Nishreyasaya Lokasya Dhanyam Swastayanam Mahat. The Srimad Bhagavatam, known as the Grantaraj, the king of all Vedic literatures, is the literary incarnation of God. It is compiled by the incarnation of God, the Srila Vyasadeva. It is meant for the ultimate good of all people. It is all successful, all blissful, and all perfect. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Sarabhyai Namaha. Om Sarabhyai Namaha. Om Sarabhyai Namaha. Mukam karoti vasalam pagum langayate girim. Yat kripa tamaham bande Sri Gurum Dinataranam. Yat kripa tamaham bande Sri Gurum Dinataranam. Hare Krishna. Welcome everyone to morning Bhagavatam class. We are continuing from Canto number 1, chapter 13, entitled Dhritarashtra Quits Home. And today we're looking at text number 43. Yes. Yatha Krida Upaskaranam Samyoga Vigamau Iha Ichaya Kridituhu Syatam Tathaive Sheshaya Nrinam Yata Kridopaskaranam Samyoga Bhima Viha Samyoga Vigama Viha Ischaya Kriditu Syatam Tathaive Sheshaya Nrinam Yatha Kridopaskaranam Yatha krito paskaranam samyoga vigama viha Ichaya kriditu syatam tathai vesheshchaya nrinam Yatha krido paskaranam samyoga vigama viha Ichaya kriditu syatam tathai vesheshchaya nrinam Yatha krido paskaranam samyoga vigama viha Ichaya kriditu syatam tathai vesheshchaya nrinam Yatha krido paskaranam samyoga vigama viha Ichaya kriditu syatam tathai vesheshchaya nrinam Yatha krido paskaranam samyoga vigama viha Ichaya kriditu syatam tathai vesheshchaya nrinam Yatha as much as Krida upaskaranam playthings Samyoga union Vigamao disunion Iha in this world Ichaya by the will of Kridituhu just to play a part Syatam takes place Tatha so also Eva certainly Isha the Supreme Lord Ichaya by the will of Nrinam of the human beings. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Sridham Prabhupada Ki. As a player sets up and disperses his playthings according to his own sweet will, so the supreme will of the Lord brings men together and separates them. Kind of repeat after me. As a player sets up and disperses his playthings according to his own sweet will, so the supreme will of the Lord brings men together and separates them. Purport. We must know for certain that the particular position in which we are now set up is an arrangement of the supreme will in terms of our own acts in the past. The Supreme Lord is present as the localized Paramatma in the heart of every living being, as it is said in the Bhagavad Gita 13:23. And therefore he knows everything of our activities in every stage of our lives. He rewards the reactions of our actions by placing us in some particular place. And here we are in Bhagavatam class. A rich man gets his son born with a silver spoon in his mouth. But the child who came as the rich man's son deserved such a place, and therefore he is placed there by the will of the Lord. And at a particular moment, when the child has to be removed from that place, he is also carried by the will of the Lord, even if the child or the father does not wish to be separated from the happy relation. The same thing happens in the case of a poor man also. Neither rich man nor poor man has any control over such meetings and separations of living beings. The example of a player and his playthings should not be misunderstood. One may argue that since the Lord is bound to award the reactionary results of our own actions, the example of a player cannot be applied. But it is not so. We must always remember that the Lord is the supreme will and he is not bound by any law. Generally, the law of karma is that one is awarded the result of one's own actions. But in special cases, by the will of the Lord, such resultant actions are changed also. But this change can be effected by the will of the Lord only, and no other. Therefore, the example of the player cited in this verse is quite appropriate, for the supreme will is absolutely free to do whatever he likes, and because he is all perfect, there is no mistake in any of his actions or reactions. These changes of resultant actions are especially rendered by the Lord when a pure devotee is involved. It is assured in the Bhagavad Gita 9:30 and 31 that the Lord saves a pure devotee who has surrendered unto him without reservation from all sorts of reactions of sins, and there is no doubt about this. There are hundreds of examples of reactions changed by the Lord in the history of the world. If the Lord is able to change the reactions of one's past deeds, then certainly he is not himself bound by any action or reaction of his own deeds. He is perfect and transcendental to all laws. Translation again. As a player sets up and disperses his playthings according to his own sweet will, so the supreme will of the Lord brings together men and separates them. Hare Krishna. So this section of the Bhagavatam is dealing with the whole pastime of Dhritarashtra leaving home after receiving the good advice, strong instructions of Vidura, and because Dhritarashtra actually made this decision without telling anyone, even without telling his personal secretary, to whom or with whom he confided regularly, and without telling Yudhishthira Maharaj, from whom for many, many years he was taking shelter. So both, one fine morning, both Yudhishthira Maharaj and Sanjay came to know that Dhritarashtra is no more. He left, didn't tell anything, and they became all disturbed and anxiety. And then, as it often happens, a great sadhu appears on the scene. In this case, Narada Muni appears, and he's beginning to give instructions to these two great personalities, Yudhishthira Maharaj and Sanjay. So the message or the instruction being given here is how the Lord, well, we were reading about how the law of nature, or we could say the law of dharma. Dharma means actually is based on, Prabhupada uses the term severe laws. We hear about the stringent laws of nature. For every action there is reaction. Everything is working based on these very subtle laws of nature that are, for most people, unknown, and for which most people are not understanding why they are suffering or why others are suffering, who seem to be very good people. Why bad things happen to good people and why good things happen to bad people. So here Narada Muni is speaking about how the Lord is totally independent, and we all suffer the laws of previous actions. We come together generally based on our previous activities. The association we have today, like in Bhagavatam class, it is all masterminded by Krishna. And that although the laws of karma are there and they are very stringent, Krishna can change. Krishna, who is the one who creates, he is the source of all energies. That is one of the important tattvas described by our acharyas. Krishna has three tattvas, three main tattvas. He is to be known, to be understood as as Param Tattva. He is the supreme personality of Godhead, the supreme truth, the culmination of all, the culmination and the source of all reality, of the absolute truth. And he is known as Shaktiman. He is the source of all energies, spiritual, material, internal, external, and marginal energy. And of course, he is third tattva describing the Lord, which all living entities are meant to know and to understand. He is Rasa Samudra. He is an ocean of transcendental mellows is a notion of transcendental spiritual mellows for which all living entities are hankering. So those who are in proper knowledge will not be overly disturbed or will not become overwhelmed by whatever happens in the material world, knowing knowing that all things are ordained and actually orchestrated by the Supreme Lord. And the safest position of the living entity is to simply accept and abide by these different arrangements. Sometimes we see them as good, sometimes we see them as bad, but ultimately they are meant for our benefit and for helping us to advance in spiritual life. Just like the example of Vidura, when Vidura was still in the palace and trying his best to advise the wrong activities of Duryodhana. At one time, as we know, Duryodhana became very angry and actually basically kicked out Vidura, who had been serving very faithfully for so many years. But Bhagavatam describes how Vidura, because he was advanced spiritually, he took that as the mercy of the Lord. Actually, this is not at all easy unless one has transcendental vision, transcendental knowledge. One cannot accept all things, as being the mercy of the Lord. So Vidura accepted this as the Lord's arrangement and his mercy, so that he could be, disentangled from the intrigues of royal family and politics that are there in such living condition. And he was able to spend many, many years, approximately 30 years, simply wandering from one holy place to another holy place. So he accepted that, and it was actually a benediction. He met so many saintly persons, and he advanced in Krishna consciousness. And he was able to come back and actually give proper instruction to Dhritarashtra so that he could actually quit family life altogether. And this is being described here in this chapter. So only those who cultivate such kind of knowledge, transcendental knowledge, can can adjust in this material world and can deal with at times very major challenges that come for all of us. Actually, we are in so many ways um, meeting great difficulties or problems or crises in life. Most people are unable to properly deal with them. So here, Narada Muni is explaining that all things are under Krishna's control, and and although the laws of nature of karma, karmic reaction, are there, Krishna he can change that also. Just like yesterday, I happened to be giving an online Bhagavatam class on the topic of, well, we're dealing with sadhana siddha and nitya siddha. We know how the vast majority of living entities in the material world fall in the category of Baddha Jeev. There is Baddha Jeev, eternally conditioned, or Mukta Jeev, eternally liberated. And those who are generally in the category of Baddha Jeev, they have to take to the recommended process of sadhana bhakti, to change from being Baddha Jeev to actually become Mukta Jeev, or liberated souls. But there are exceptions. Prabhupada mentions in the purport, actually, there are many such exceptions that occur, again, by the will of the Lord. So in other words, for most persons who want to be, who want to attain the position of being Mukta Jeev, liberated from the clutches of Maya, liberated from the modes of material nature, reinstated in our natural position, then there is a special mercy of the Lord, Kripa Siddha, by the special Kripa or mercy of Krishna. So in other words, Krishna is not bound, just like we see in the Battle of Kurukshetra also, Krishna giving seemingly instructions that are not morally right. We were talking just yesterday about this. So the idea is that Krishna, who creates this material world and creates the laws that make this material world function, at any time he can change that. So that means that when we are able to understand and accept that that Krishna is that personality who creates this material world, this spiritual world, then we learn, or we need to learn to accept any type of, Prabhupada would call them, reverses in life. Reverses in life, unexpected events, unexpected, sometimes major changes that take place, which may not very often be able to be understood by us, but the devotee learns to accept those and not be overly disturbed or confused. So the more we understand some of these principles, how everything is ordained, and then we have less reason to actually become overwhelmed by whatever may be taking place, because there are so many things, just like Gandhari. Gandhari was such an ascetic, not only in the life that she was, where she became the wife of Dhritarashtra, but she was remembering, she knew about her 7 past lives where she had not performed any kind of sinful activity. You know the story, huh? She was perplexed after the battle of Kurukshetra. She was very angry. Why all of my sons were killed? And and she approached Sridham Vyasadeva, because he is Trikalagya. He knows past, present, and future. And she expressed her sorrow to him. I have not, in this life and in my previous 7 lives, committed any sinful activity. Why this is happening? And Vyasadeva, after hearing her, he explained, in the life before the 7th, and that in your 8th life, because we have many lives, you were a princess in a royal palace, and every day you used to go take bath in the pukur, and one fine morning when you came out of the pukur is like a pond. There are steps usually to go down, and as you were walking up the step, unknowingly, you stepped on the eggs of a shell. What do you call it? Not the some snail, something. Yeah, there were 100 eggs, and the snail, or whatever it might have been, cursed you. You have killed my children, my 100. So after 7 lives, you will also meet the same fate. Your 100 children will be killed. We don't know what we've done in the past.
Dhritarashtra also had similar thing.
Dhritarashtra?
Also had. It's a similar story like that.
I mean,
he was a hunter and he burnt the entire tree which had.
Okay, well, there's a lot of things out there. I haven't heard that one. But yeah, I mean, absolutely everything that is happening is for 2 reasons. One, and generally that's the case, is because of our karma. The other may not be due to karma, because Krishna is allowing or arranging. Even though, just like, there are living entities, not many, who descend in the material world. Well, yeah, reading about that. I mean, Prahlad Maharaj. I was reading that purport yesterday. How it was Canto 7, Chapter 10, just before the whole series of chapters that describe Narada Muni speaking on Varnashrama Dharma. So Prahlad Maharaj, the story of Prahlad Maharaj is the tail end of the story, the whole pastime of Nrsimhadev killing Hiranyakashipu. And Nrsimhadev wants to give benedictions to Prahlad. And Prahlad, Prabhupada explains how the Lord is trying to trick his pure devotee, trying to allure him with some material kind of benediction. And Prahlad is immediately telling, my dear Lord, I'm fully satisfied in being engaged in your devotional service. So Prabhupada explains how that is the position of the pure devotee. But even though somebody is a pure devotee, even though someone is like a Nitya Siddha, like Prahlad Maharaj, who comes in the material world, so many crises. I mean, Hiranyakashipu, as we know, attempted to kill him in so many ways. But he was protected, fully protected by the Lord, because he was fully, completely surrendered. So even so-called, when Prabhupada, after taking sannyas, he mentions, I think it's probably there in Vilamrita, I left home, I was penniless, I left home, I was in Vrindavan. Prabhupada writes a nice bhajan. Now, because I'm penniless, nobody thinks about me. Nobody, but Prabhupada was fully satisfied and happy. Then we know that after some time, when his Guru Maharaj, and today, of course, is the appearance of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who appeared in his dream. You have to take sannyas. He appeared at least twice to him in dream. Prabhupada had no, not like some of our young brahmacharis, I want to take sannyas. Prabhupada was elderly and knew the challenges and difficulties. So after receiving this very clear message from his Guru Maharaj, then he, as we know, took sannyas. Then one day, Prabhupada was still, he was writing his purports to Srimad Bhagavatam, wanted to finish first canto, which he did, of course, with the idea that, okay, now I'm equipped. I have my danda and I have my Bhagavatam. I can go preaching. So then one day, when he was still engaged in working, he was traveling to Delhi all the time to proofread, to get it printed, etc. And then one day he was walking, coming back, or going to the printing press, and one, in those days, maybe it's not there now, stray, bull, just hit him and knocked him down. I don't think nothing major, but probably Prabhupada was totally. So Prabhupada recalls, he says, I left family life, I took sannyas, why this is happening? That's a question very often people ask. I know many people ask me, say you're a devotee, why did...
Even I have this same question, that the holy names have the capacity to describe past, present
Yes,
and future
yes.
karmas. then why is Jiva forced to suffer in spite of accepting so many penance and guru and all these things, adding to the same thing?
The pure chanting of the holy name has that potency. So it's not so easy to chant even once, purely the holy name. Yes, that potency is there. But even though one may be completely cleansed from all karmic reaction, Krishna allows these situations to take place to actually, that was mentioned actually. Krishna makes such arrangement to actually glorify his devotee. Because one who is fully surrendered, obviously, and Nitya Siddha is fully surrendered. So when he comes in the material world, or if he attains that position by following sadhana, bhakti, or if he gets special mercy of the Lord, then regardless of what happens, he will not waver. And that is what is being mentioned here. By the sweet will of the Lord, he may make such arrangements. He may put his pure devotee in seemingly critical or difficult conditions. But one who is a pure devotee, one who is understanding the workings of the Lord, he will not become disturbed. He will not, as people start cursing. If there's a God, like, why is doing this to me? I don't deserve this. That's the mentality of the conditioned soul. Because most people are just totally unaware of their previous lives. That's why that is one of the 5 important tattvas, isn't it? Karma in the Bhagavad Gita, which our acharyas explain. The law of karma is very, very intricate, very complicated, not at all easy to understand. So we need to understand that whatever is happening to all living entities, ourselves included, is either due to karma or due to the will of the Lord for higher purpose. So therefore, when we know this, then we have no reason to become disturbed, isn't it? That's one of the foremost qualities of a devotee. We cannot be a devotee, we cannot become a devotee unless we develop that humble position that I am fallen. We are fallen. We are very small, very, very insignificant. The pure devotee is that personality who has who understands the greatness of the Lord. The more we understand the greatness of the Lord, the more we understand how insignificant we are. So therefore, and the more we understand the workings of the Lord and the laws, the laws that he enacts, which are based on the principles of dharma, then we, if we maintain, if we cultivate this mood and mentality of, which was especially stressed and underlined by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, meekness and submissiveness. Trinadapi sunichena tarodapi sahishnana amanena manadena kirtanya sadahari. Only then we can actually perform properly our devotional activities. Only then we can actually properly chant the holy name. So Narada Muni is in this way beginning his instructions beginning to give his instructions to Yudhishthira Maharaj and Sanjay, who were feeling very bad that Dhritarashtra has left. I'll just read the verse again. This is, again, Narada Muni speaking. As a player sets up and disperses his playthings according to his own sweet will, so the supreme will of the Lord brings men together and separates them. And just maybe one last small point, because when we speak about player, we were talking just a few days ago how this is the kind of mentality we are also meant to develop when we look at and speak and try to explain the whole system of Varna and Ashrama. The whole system of Varna and Ashrama is also meant to be a play, a drama, where externally we play a particular role, but we don't identify that as our eternal position. But it is an important position, an important play, because we are here in the material world. So we have to function, we have to do so many things. And the way to function and the way to do those so many things, the safest way to do is simply by understanding and knowing what is Krishna giving and explaining in the Bhagavatam, especially in the Srimad Bhagavatam. So many references are there elsewhere also. But this is very helpful for us to understand that as devotees, we should learn to accept these different roles and positions within Varna and Ashrama as a temporary role, and it is simply for this lifetime, but within or internally, we are all practicing, aspiring devotees of Krishna. When that consciousness is within all the members, within that system that Krishna has created, then that system is the perfect system. That understanding is the perfect understanding. Because we believe in perfection. Otherwise, we have no business being here in Bhagavatam class. We believe in the perfect Supreme Personality of Godhead. We believe in the perfect systems that He has created or given, which exist both on the transcendental spiritual level, means the activities of bhakti. Bhakti is actually the perfectional stage, the topmost level of yoga, bhakti yoga. And also the Varna and Ashrama is a perfect system for mankind, which we must follow, especially in our conditioned stage. And just to remind ourselves, coming from Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur, that the Varnashrama system is for the Vaishnavas in their conditioned state. And even if someone is above the modes of material nature, he will still, in general, respect the system that Krishna has created. Because it's a perfect system. But we may not, those who are on that platform, those few, living entities on that platform may not always have to follow that system. Would like to hear possibly from some of our illustrious souls who are present here this morning. Comments or questions? Yes.
Maharaj, all the four sampradayas are referring to going back to Godhead,
Yes.
to Vaikuntha and Goloka.
Yes.
But I have a subtle question in terms of that. Whenever I discuss with devotees, of course, we are already seeing so much pain and suffering, and this is dukkhalayam ashashvata. So, is it not that I think it is kind of a a greedy thought that they want to go to Goloka or Vaikuntha because there is so much suffering and there is no love involved for the Lord by itself. It is just because okay, there is so much suffering here. So if I move out of this place, out of this birth and death, my suffering is gone. But the aspect of my relationship or our relationship with the Lord is missing. So we want to leave this place because of the suffering only. So why do I need to have this desire to go back to Lord if Lord is already present in form of name or in form of glories or He's already present in the heart? What is our need for to go to Goloka if He's there in our heart, or we are in the association of devotees if we get association of devotees?
Well, the primary goal and objective is not simply to put an end to suffering, because those who are attaining the level of Brahman realization, Brahma Bhuta Prasanatma Nasochati Nekanchati. One who attains that level of Brahman realization, then Nasochati Nekanchati, he has no more no material hankering, no material what is it? No hankering and no lamentation. Yeah, not worried about the past, not worried about the future, and he's firmly fixed in transcendence. But that is not the goal. The primary goal is not simply to put an end to our suffering. The primary goal is to revive our lost loving relationship with Krishna, isn't it? So that is that automatically, even here in the material world, because there are two consequences, two effects that are there when one actually comes to that level of becoming, Paramahamsa, reaching the Paramahamsa stage or Uttamadikari, that he is no longer under the influence of the modes of material nature, nor is he under the influence of the threefold miseries of life. So yes, one can be, and that's the mood and mentality, of course, of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also, that that I can come back again and again. I just want to be in that state of consciousness. I want to be in that service mood. I want to develop that service attitude. I want to develop my natural, normal, loving relationship with Krishna. So that is meant to be our primary objective, whether Krishna arranges that it take place in the spiritual world or in the material world. Yeah. At the same time, Prabhupada says for the majority of us, we should want to leave the material world. But as devotees, we are ready to accept whatever Krishna desires. If Krishna wants us to remain in the material world for preaching purposes, that's fine. Not for the purpose of being allured by the material energy, etc. So the primary purpose for all of us should be to revive our what is meant to be eternal, loving relationship with Krishna, either in the material world or in the spiritual world. And we leave it up to Krishna where he wants to place us.
Maharaj, since today being appearance day of Bhakti Siddhanta,
Yes.
can you speak very quiet?
Oh, he's telling, since today is the appearance of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, can we speak something? You mean, can we have another Bhagavatam class? Well, sometime recently I was, a few things, so many things are there.
Bhakti Saraswati was showing the example that he was in a pure devotion position, but the sake of the fulfilling the desire of his father, of his guru, he just accepted sannyas. He came back to the Varnashram level to preach and to establish a system like Gaudiya Math, which is bringing a lot of difficulties for him. So he just accepted voluntarily that, okay, I'm free, pure soul, but still I want to suffer. And he told that bringing someone to the pure level is a lot of blood have to give. So he shows the example, not the most important to go back to Godhead, but being part of the Lord Chaitanya's mission. He was risking his life to be killed by smarta brahmanas that didn't care.
Yes.
So that shows that the difference is quite a lot.
Even if you see Maharaj, Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj, before that, there was Babaji Sampradaya. Even Bhaktivinoda Thakur also did. Later on, he put that sannyas, varnashram system, which Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj accepted.
That's a very big topic, actually, which is in many ways very central to the teachings of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, which was also essential to Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, but which remains to this day a controversial topic. The controversial topic being that, as explained actually in the Next Devotion, there is the path of Bhajananandi and Gosiyanandi. Both are bona fide. Both are actually bona fide. Bhajananandi, we have, Gaur Kishore Das, Babaji Maharaj. We have Babajis in our sampradaya. What Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur wanted to point out is that it is not at all easy to be Babaji, and it is not meant for everyone. Just like it is not meant for everyone to become, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur. It's meant for everyone to become a pure devotee. But we cannot prematurely and artificially take that position, which was one of the major observations and criticisms that Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati had, because he could see in Vrindavan that there were too many people were in the name of, it began with his father, who, in wanting to re-establish Vaishnavism, because at that time the whole deviation had been strongly embedded actually for like a couple of 100 years, 300 years. Sahajism was strongly, yeah.
Many others, 17 others.
Huh?
Sahaj is one of the group, but others are
Yeah, right.
so many.
Yeah, correct. Long list. So therefore, what are the? I mean, there was, as we know, that difference continues to this day. The difference in terms within his own family, amongst two of his sons, Lalit Prasad and Vimla Prasad, yeah. Two Prasad. What Prasad to take? So, I mean, Prasad is Prasad, right? So, one of the very clear and strong, foremost instructions that was you know, the backbone of what ultimately the Gaudiya Math was meant to be is that we because of the situation in the world today, and because we cannot artificially just close ourselves and simply concentrate on our own bhajan, therefore Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur chose especially the path or the process of Gosyanandi, which is emphasizing preaching. But you know, it is also explained how he gave Babaji order to some of his disciples, not many, maybe 20 or something. I don't know. Anyone know how many disciples Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati had? He had a lot of disciples.
Krishnadas Babaji Maharaj was one of them.
You know, but
Babaji ordered that he had to give him.
but how many disciples did Srila Bhakti? Yeah, I mean, many. He gave sannyas to many, but Babaji only to a few. Prabhupada gave to only one. You know the story? I'll tell you the story. There was one disciple of Prabhupada who came to know that he had terminal disease, cancer. And the doctors told him, you have like 6 weeks or something. So he said, well, I should just go to Vrindavan, pass my last days there. So he approached Prabhupada or someone on his behalf that, you know, maybe he can take Babaji dress. So Prabhupada somehow agreed. So he went to Vrindavan in Babaji dress. 1 week, 2 weeks, 1 month passed. Then after 6 weeks or so, I forget the details, but he came to know that actually it was a wrong diagnosis. So he left his Babaji dress and went back to America. That's in brief. That's what I heard, yeah. So it's like, in the same context, you know, we not that we minimize or reject the whole aspect of bhajan. I mean, bhajan is meant to be the core and the heart of our daily activities. But this is again and again emphasized and demonstrated, of course, by the activities of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, preaching. And by preaching, actually, we also develop internally, and we become purified.
Yes, the art how the preaching becomes our bhajan.
How the preaching
not
becomes a
the
bhajan.
pushing or not the difficulties, but the bhajan.
Yes.
That's a quite of level of mature character, but it could become a bhajan.
Yes. Actually, in the Bhagavad Gita, there's a purport where very nice. Actually, Prabhupada explains how there are two ways in which, what a pure devotee, a Paramahamsa, what he experiences, because he sees Krishna, he talks with Krishna, he can talk with Krishna. He's on that platform, totally liberated. So the Ananda, Premananda that he experiences is also something that is available in that purport of the Bhagavad Gita, that is also available when one fully absorbs oneself in preaching activities, Prabhupada is telling, which is touching your point here, that this becomes like a bhajan. It's a mood and a mentality. Of course, one simultaneously needs to be as emphasized and stressed by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. You cannot properly engage in prasar if your asar, if your sarasar is poor. So one has to be very strong in his sadhana, and as recommended by Srila Rupa Goswami, we have to follow the prescribed process that is there. And then the idea is that gradually, then we will rise from sadhana bhakti to the level of raga nuga bhakti, and it is in Krishna's hands how we progress and advance. So in other words, one can, this is the preferred process that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur and our own Srila Prabhupada also followed, and what we were meant to follow. Not, in many ways, our bhajan is very closely connected with preaching. We have to close now because it's only 10 minutes before darshan, and means 10 minutes for Gayatri for those who are chanting Gayatri. Jai Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Jai Sri Prabhupada ki.